Here's what happened. I had moved back in with my parents, figuring out my career and life. What I wanted to focus on was my public speaking. I wanted to feel like I could authentically share my voice out to the world and do that in an honest and direct way, with no minimal hesitation. And my dad, I remember I was working in the living room, and my dad came in and shared with me a TED talk. And it's so cool, like the serendipity moments that happen where people just share things with you that absolutely become a mind-blowing experience and changes how you look at your life and how you look at your future. The talk he shared with me was a TED talk, and it was called How to Speak, or the title is How to Speak So That People Want to Listen, and it's by Julian Treasure, who did it. And as of today, because I had to look back, it has over 40 million views. And it's the last 3 minutes that stick out to me for what he did, which was he made these silly, weird noises that we call voice exercises, like the motorboat sound as a kid. And by doing that, what he did for me was I saw an adult on TED stage, one of the biggest stages, I think, out there at the time, of imagining that in front of sharing a message in front of the world. And he is making silly, weird noises, which then gave me permission, because I resonated with wanting to do that, but felt scared to share that with other people. It gave me permission to be able to share that and communicate that part of me out into the world. This is Make Burnout Extinct Podcast. I'm Robert David Weeks. The problem I'm focusing in on when I think of that moment for me was this problem that we all have, where we know deep down we're not communicating authentically and honestly to the people around us. And when that starts to happen, what also happens over the years of doing that, which is my experience, you start to lose the authenticity of who you are. It's hard to sift through what is it that other people have put on you for how you think you're supposed to show up in the world. If that is mom, dad, brothers, friends, teachers, how they think you should act. And so you take that on for yourself, rather than actually understanding truly what resonates for you deep down authentically. And all of that gets like thrown into this mixing bowl, and you have to sift through that. And it takes effort. I am here to set expectations. It takes effort to go and do that, but it's so worth it for being able to avoid burnout, and so worth it for what it opens up for you for possibilities into the future. So I want to connect this to burnout so you understand what the hell is going on, because this skill of communication, of sharing authentically your voice out into the world, it helps immensely to get you to the point of making burnout extinct. So how it connects, though, to burnout is when and there's a few avenues we can go down here, but with the time, I want to make sure I keep it this doesn't run on for hours here. So I want to talk about specifically the anxiety and stress that can elevate when we feel on and feel in performer mode. And performer mode, okay? You know the difference between if it's at your job and you're working and then you come back home. I mean, you can notice a difference in who you are and how you're communicating. If that could be in front of family, friends, and then you go back and you're talking to your partner, there's a difference there in communication. Or it's the people that you've never met yet, or you're meeting for the first time. It's different than your friend that you've known for 10 years. There are differences there in how we communicate. What I feel is really important for you to focus in on, and where today can be your moment to decide on this, is the closer we can get to minimizing that difference between who we are behind the scenes, backstage, back of house, and then who we are front of house. When we can minimize that amount of difference, that becomes a beautiful gift that we can give to ourselves. It doesn't mean that we can't still work on how we articulate and pronunciate our words and share in a compassionate and caring and respectful way. You already know that stuff. I mean, you're the one who's out there trying to make sure everyone else's needs are met and supporting everyone else's goals. And this is your time to be able to focus in on you and support you. So with connection to burnout, that anxiety and stress, when it elevates and increases, when we're feeling on, that is moving towards the first red flag of chronic exhaustion. Because if you are constantly performing, which is what I did for years, all of a sudden that compounds on itself. And then we're hitting the first red flag of burnout and creates domino effects. So I want to get into 3 plays that we're going to go through. One is a mindset shift that can help you for a reframe. And then 2 are actually physical exercises you can do with your voice that can help you with the articulation and pronunciation. But it's also on the deeper level of that, it allows you and gives you permission to show your weird, silly, quirky self to the world. Because I really love this quote. A conversation I listened to right before recording this was between Chris Williamson and Robert Greene. It sparked the inspiration for this one. And it's a quote from Robert Greene that I resonate with so much, which is this. Let me get to my notes. It's always stick to what makes you weird, odd, strange, different. That is your source of power. And when I could see Julian Treasure talking about the importance of focusing in on the voice and then doing these silly exercises, it gave me permission at the time, years back, to be able to step into that and start that journey of figuring out my weird and quirky self. And like, fuck yeah, expressing that out to the world, like getting fired up to do that. And what happens, I know, for my journey for the contrast is when you're on and you're performing, it's hard for you to know the difference of energy levels because that could be all you know. I get you. I have been there. But when you have had those moments, which I have had a few of those over the years, and especially more so now with the podcast, of where I have just been able to express the words out that I want to express, which without thinking about, okay, how's this person going to perceive this? Are they going to judge me for this phrase I'm about to say? Are they going to take this in the wrong way? Instead of all that mental chatter, just being able to express it, you realize how exhausting it is to be on and to perform. And you can already get that intellectually, but when you can realize that fully, it fuels you to want to focus in on this, on the skill of communication, and to get better at understanding authentically your voice and expressing that. So we're going to get into it. The first play I want to share with you, I want to get right into it, and that is the mindset shift for you. Because another quote from Robert Greene is, if you're replaceable, you will be replaced in this world. We want to focus on trying to conform and belong and fit in, but in doing that, we sacrifice our one-of-a-kindness. So with this mindset shift, this is a way we can reconnect with the uniqueness that is us, the quirkiness, the weirdness. And that is whenever you're going to step up in a situation to communicate with other people. That could be coworkers, or it could be stepping up for a presentation. It could be with strangers that you're meeting for the first time. Remember dinner party rather than lecture seminar. The reason is at a dinner party, imagine all of your close friends right there with you. Or you can think about it for this way. I like to think about, okay, you're watching sports. I'm watching the football, the Ravens. I'm watching them, and I'm with my buddies, and we're just hanging out, talking, shooting the shit, just chatting about stuff. You can think about that too, or the dinner party. But imagine who you are there in the dinner party, how you're communicating, the words that you're saying, the silliness, the random one-off statements that people look at you being like, what'd you just say? Like that just quirkiness of you. And it's with your friends. It's with people that you respect. So how is it that you're communicating there? And then when you think of lecture seminar, that's all those moments where we feel the pressure to have to be on, to have to perform. And guess what? People then get bored by that. Like boredom is one of the things you want to avoid. Being you creates excitement. It energizes not only yourself, but other people around you. People feed off of that for energy, and then it creates an overall better experience. And we know it. If we think of like a professor that just lectures and is super just draining and boring, we know that feeling and it sucks. So this is a great mindset shift to have of dinner party and rather than lecture seminar. And we all have the capability to do this. I want to remind you, if you're now thinking like, oh, but I don't know what my dinner party is. You have that within you. You know it. think about all the people that you trust the most, of who you feel you can be yourself with. And that may just be you, yourself. Imagine who you are then and hone in on that, and just remember dinner party. One, that's going to help elevate you for being able to move forward in your career when it comes to this communication skills and life overall. People want to be able to hang out and be around that type of energy of you, your authentic self, because then it gives them permission to also show up in their authentic self. And that is a beautiful gift you can give to other people. Because I know you want to make sure you take care of other people too. Well, there it is for you. So that's play number one. And I think back to the next play, which I'll get into for the actual voice exercises, but I think back to even the context for my journey. So we all have these feelings, or we all have these parts of us that we're embarrassed to share, that can be that quirky, weird self. And I think back to when I was in middle school. This is where I felt I was starting to want to conform and belong with people in my class. But what I was doing at home was I was playing with these Legos. I had this whole room filled up with Legos, and I would create like cities and these awesome battles. Like, I really liked battles. And in doing that, what I started to do was I created storylines for the different characters and these Lego pieces. I would create like this epic, I think of these like epic war speeches. Lord of the Rings is the one that comes up. And I would do that for one of the armies and like pump it up. And then I'd be like, all right, let's charge. And then I'd flip it on the other side and get on the other, for the other army, I'd create an epic speech and then yell charge, and they would clash. And then I'd have these whole narratives and storylines that are these narratives that would be happening in this bigger storyline. And it was so much fun. Like, I really enjoyed it. Funny enough, turns out now I'm in public speaking and podcasting. It was cool to just see that connection point of really liking to share stories. But what happened was I was so embarrassed of that part of me that I wouldn't share it with anyone. I wouldn't share it with my mom or dad. They'd come into the room and I'd quiet down. I wouldn't even share that. Hell, I couldn't even imagine sharing that with my friends at the time in middle school. Like, I just felt like this was a weird thing. Like, no one else did this. And so I know that we all have these things that we're embarrassed about, but it's remembering that those parts we feel embarrassed about, that can be our superpower. And it turns that into our superpower as adults, which I think is so cool, is to remember the play, remember the wonder, and expand upon that in how you're communicating. And then there's this other side of this that I want to get into. And that is that there are moments in our life that we're not proud of. I have a few of those that come up. A lot of that time in my life for me was college. I partied a lot. I've shared that before. Like, I would do these 6 nights of partying, figuring out where the best deals, like dollar drinks are, and going to those spots and just partying a ton. And I remember there'd be moments where, I'd pass out on the floor after drinking. And then my college friends at the time, thinking they were my friends, would take the photos and videos and, laugh about it. And what happened over the years, as I wanted to focus in on my communication and public speaking and sharing really how I felt and my opinions and my views and my beliefs, what happened though was that was in the back of my mind, where all of these moments I wasn't proud of. And the fear, which was triggered from the worry that my friends in college who, we drifted apart. We drifted apart over the years. I was worried that all of a sudden that was going to be used as blackmail, or like somehow it was going to come out of all these parts I'm not proud of. And I know for each one of us, we have those in the back of the mind. We may not even realize it, but these moments that we're not proud of, that we're worried someone's going to come out of the side door and be like, "We got you." Like, you got you. You can't be authentic. You got to be performer. You got to be on. You can't be you, because then that means all these other parts come out. And I want to remind you that you get to decide what you share. Authenticity doesn't mean you have to share everything and be a completely open book, but you get to decide what you share. What's not worth it is to hold back out of fear of what will come up from your past, or what will come up in judgment from other people, or people not just judging, but then attacking you. All of that is mental chatter in our minds. And I know the pain that can be there of the fear of wanting to step into that version of you, the fear and the worry. But what happens is that just then fuels us to burnout. And then we get stuck and we stay where we are. And that is a place I wouldn't want to wish on anyone, is to just stay stuck and feel like your life is going by. I want this to be your moment to realize that we all have our embarrassing moments. We all have the moments we're not proud of, but they don't have to define who we are now. And they don't have to define who we are in our future. We get to control that and take on that narrative. And yes, could those things come back? There's that possibility. Could then people judge us and all that? Yes. But the key is to remember to love yourself throughout this process, to be able to start to give yourself acceptance. I go back to one of the affirmations I talked about of, I accept who I am. I had to repeat that constantly to remember that within myself. And then also the first affirmation of, I am loved and worthy, and having to cultivate that within ourselves. It starts with us and being able to do that. So I want to share with you then the second play. This is the motorboat. So it's something I've done it with voice exercises that I share with other people. And it's been so cool to see transformations that happen where people are so terrified of public speaking. All of a sudden they're stepping up on stage and sharing what they want to share. So for this motorboat one, this is the silliness. This is the weirdness that can come out. And so you can think back to as a kid. You remember a motorboat that, let me see if I can do the sound here for you, and it catches it. It's this one. It's that motorboat sound. So how you can do this, in case you need a refresher, is you want to put your lips together slightly, open them up slightly, and then take a deep breath in, and then let it out with the sound, and just letting the flaps of your side of your mouths move up and down. And you can do that for like 3 to 5 times. And you can do this at the beginning of the day. It could be right before a presentation. What this does is it warms up the voice. It's a way to focus on articulation, pronunciation. It works these muscles that fun. Like this stat blew my mind. We use over 70 muscles to speak, and many of which we're not training. And so this is a fantastic way to work on all those muscles. And as I'm saying this, my voice is, I got a cough from my voice. I've been outside here in Lake Tahoe, and the temperature changed dramatically between yesterday and today. So like I went out for a run, and of course I got that like cough going. But the motorboat, bringing it back, is silly and fun, and it's this weirdness, and it gives us permission to laugh. And then from there, we'll be able to step into sharing our authentic voice. And what's amazing is if you can do this with other people around, because then that breaks it down even more, where you don't have to feel on and performing, and you can just add more of your quirkiness into the conversation. Because what also is super cool is that when you learn a new skill, you're actually changing the construction of you change the matter of your brain, which I think is so cool. You're creating new connections through neuroplasticity, which then continues to fuel your growth as a human being. And I find it so fucking awesome to witness that. And when it comes to this skill, this becomes a fantastic foundational skill in your life to navigate this world, to be able to communicate and articulate your views and your opinions, and the beliefs that you have, and hold firm to those values, and then be able to have a respectful and caring conversation with other people. That is an awesome skill to possess. Because with no skills, this is something from Robert Greene that I resonate with. With no skills, you have a life of confusion. You're just drifting through the water of life without any potential direction. You go to one direction, and all of a sudden switching it up, switching it, and then you get this confusion, which again increases our anxiety of the future for possibilities, and we're moving towards the path of burnout. So the other one I want to share with you for play is the la la la. It's la 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 breath. I'm thinking, oh man, this is I think of Shoo La La, Michael Scott, for that one, but it's the la la la. That's the way you can remember it. Is where you take a deep inhale, and then you're gonna put the tip of your tongue behind the front, your front top teeth, or yeah, the top teeth, and then you do the la la. You're rolling the tongue out. It's just a la la la. And what you can do for this for reps is 3 to 5 reps. Same situation as the motorboat. You can do that before, at the beginning of your day. You could do that before a big conversation, or just a conversation where you want to continue to focus on authenticity. These are your reminders to be able to show up authentically in how you're communicating. So the law breath is really cool. It's another fun one. It's just like la 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 la, and it also will start to relax your throat muscles that are just in your chest too. It just relaxes it a little bit more, your shoulders, and it's another really really fun one. And what I think back to with this is it's going to take effort and consistency to focus on authentically sharing who you are. And you can go back to understanding what energizes you and what drains you. That's a great starting point. If you're having difficulty of like, how the hell do I figure out my authentic voice? Start there. What energizes you and what drains you? What are the activities? What are the ways that you're communicating with friends, with people that you trust? And then what drains you? What are those moments where you feel on or you're performing? And just make a note of that each time. The awareness is a big piece of this, to take that time for awareness. And it could just be a few seconds of acknowledging it, writing it down. And what happens is you start to improve then your communication. I shared this story before, but for networking, my first networking event post college, I wanted to show up authentically, but I couldn't talk to anyone. I was so scared. I was so scared. I left the event even before it really got started with the speaker to come in and share their story. I left the thing. And by going from that to then being able to have this podcast, speaking to you, to getting up on stage, speaking in front of hundreds of people, I mean, it is possible to change this for you. I want to get that across to you. There were moments where I had to take over 30 takes to do a video because I'm trying to figure out my voice and clear the bullshit that is coming up in my mind of, okay, are they going to judge me, or are they going to like, what's my mom going to think about this? Oh my gosh, like what are my brothers going to think about this? All of these narratives and chatter that we have coming up, it does take reps to do this. And so I want to remind you that it starts here, of taking the time to go through these reps. But what I can tell you is then the journey you go on and who you become is, again, a beautiful gift you can give to yourself that opens up doorways of possibilities. And that's what I want for you. I don't want you to hit that burnout. I want you to make burnout extinct. And communication, understanding authentically who you are and sharing that out with the world is a great foundational place to begin in that process. And I want to again highlight something. It's coming up for me with this. That is for how I want to show up for you with this podcast. And each of these episodes, I want to be, again, direct and honest. It's a commitment I've held on to. And this right here, going through the importance of authenticity, is another important reminder of doing the work, of putting the reps in. And so I'm in this journey with you. We all are on our own points in this journey, but we're all on it, of either being authentic on one spectrum or then performing on the other. And it is a spectrum that we can decide where we're at in it. And so I want you to know you're not alone in honing in on this skill and improving it and getting better over time. And then I want to remind you that your future self will thank you for deciding to work on this skill. Take a moment to decide which one of these plays are you going to try on these next few days. If you like this episode, please don't forget to rate this podcast to help get this message out, make burnout extinct. And you can share what resonates with you from this episode by connecting with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. I don't take that for granted. I want to remind you that you got this. If no one else has ever told you that, I'm here to tell you, you've got this. You have the capabilities to be able to do this. You can authentically express who you are out into the world. I'm excited to reconnect again soon.